Now, with a little bit of trepidation, I introduce Bart Sumner. Sumner, pardon me. Excuse me, sir. I totally apologize. All right. So, what? 25 years as a professional actor, a screenwriter, an improv teacher. But you say that your most important job, though, has been raising your two children.
Yeah.
And that they've taught you more than you've taught them.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
And that's sort of what all this is about.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Yes, and
Yes, and.
there we go. All right. Healing Improv. I give you Bart.
Go ahead, you can start. This is not a picture of my mother or my Aunt Marge, although the resemblance to my Aunt Marge is striking. That's actually me in a costume for Hairspray, the musical. This is just sort of my way of proving to you all that I have been an actor for 25 years. I've done all sorts of stuff. I've done stuff on TV, movies. I've written a screenplay, but the thing I've done most in the last 25 years is comedy improvisation, the kind of stuff that you see on Whose Line Is It Anyway on TV. All good things have happened to me while I've been an actor. While I was playing Fred Flintstone at Universal Studios Hollywood, I met my wife, and we got married, and that's been a good thing. And about a year or so after I was married, this guy came along. This is my son, David. We were planning on using this picture when he showed up with his fiancée for the first time to embarrass him. But he's a cute little guy, and about 2 years after David was born, another one came into our family, which is my daughter, Abby, or as David used to say, Abby! David was thrilled with the idea that he was going to be a big brother, that there'd be somebody who he could guide through the world and show them the way it worked and what life was all about. And it proved to be a wonderful thing. The two of them, as they're growing up, had great relationship. They would play with each other all the time, and then they'd torture their parents together. And then they'd go out in the backyard, and they'd play with the neighbor kids, and then they'd come inside and torture their parents some more. And they'd love each other and hug each other, and were best buds. And then, of course, they'd torture their parents some more. And David, when he got to be the right age, fell in love with sports. He wasn't the world's greatest athlete by any means, but if it was the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat, he was really into it. And this he used to give us that thumbs up out on the sports field that said, hey, I know I just scraped my elbow, but please stop screaming from the stands, Dad. You're embarrassing the shit out of me. So he came home at about 7 years of age and told me with this flyer from school that he wanted to play full contact football. And it absolutely floored me that he wanted to, but I went online and I read about it, and at that age and at that size, with the amount of equipment they wear, they really can't hurt each other. So I figured, okay, we'll let him play. So for the next 3 years in the fall, our life was football. And he loved the sport, but he hated the practices. Much like me, they used to make him run laps around the football field, and he would cry every step of the way, but he never stopped. And he never walked. And as time went on, as you can see, this was the start of his 4th season at 10 years of age. He really grew into quite a young man who was ready to play football. Unfortunately, this picture here was the last picture David ever posed for, because about 2 weeks after this picture was taken, David was tripped on the football field, he fell, and he suffered a hemorrhage in his brain, and he died. It was about an hour and 20 minutes later, he died in my arms. So we put our lives back together as best we could and spent about 3 years in the town where he died. And I got tired of driving past the football field that he died on every morning when I took my daughter to school. So we put the house up for sale, and then, like the Beverly Hillbillies, we loaded up the truck, and we moved from Beverly, actually. We weren't in Beverly Hills, but it was California. It was a nice pun. I used the picture. So we came here to Michigan. And as an actor and a screenwriter coming to Michigan, I really wasn't sure what kind of life was here in Michigan for me. But I had a bunch of friends who were from the area, and they told me to search out the Civic Theater here in Grand Rapids, that it was a great place to find a life in the theater. And this is the inside of the Civic. If you guys haven't been there, it's an amazing old theater. It's only a block and a half away. They put on great productions. I have been very lucky in the last 18 months since I've been here to be cast in 2 things. I was the ghost of Christmas Present in A Christmas Carol this past year, and I also played Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, and I was also fortunate enough to get nominated for 2 grand awards for both of those performances. So, yeah, fine. So Grand Rapids has worked great for me. But the other thing I was able to fool them into at the Civic was teaching improv. I've loved improv, and I've taught it for 25 years. And so they've let me start to work inside their School of Theater Arts teaching improv. And as I started to teach it, I started to get this feeling that something needed to be connected. And I realized that for years I used to say that improv was better than therapy. It kept me out of the psychologist's office. And then it dawned on me that in the 2 years after David died, improv really did save my life. Every Saturday night I would get up on stage in the Valley in California, and I would perform with my improv group, and for 90 minutes it was like a mini vacation from the grief that was enveloping my life from my son dying. And so I started this nonprofit here in Grand Rapids called Healing Improv in honor of my son David. What we're doing is we're bringing together people who are suffering from grief, and we're doing improv games with them, the same kind of improv games we do with corporate training and things like that. And when you put a bunch of people who have all suffered similar losses and tragedies in their life together, you let them tell their story a little bit, and then you get them up on their feet and you start playing games, and you get them laughing and you get them joking. And improv, because of its nature of having to be in the moment, frees them from the grief that, like it did me, that's dragging their lives down. It also opens up communication, and laughter, just like tears, is completely involuntary. And if you keep those emotions flowing, it allows people to deal with the grief, because you don't get over grief, you get through it, and you move forward in life. So, that's what I'm doing now, is I'm making this nonprofit go here. And our motto, one of our mottos is live, love, laugh. And if you love deep enough in your life, you risk losing people, and that can hurt. But it doesn't mean the end of life. Life can go on, and you can still have a great life even after you've had horrible loss. So that's what we're doing. We're doing these free grief workshop things that we're doing. It's called Healing Improv. You guys can look us up. We actually are having one tomorrow night at the Civic Theater, my new artistic home here in town. We're doing another one on Saturday for teens. So look us up on the internet if you want. I got some flyers if anybody knows anybody who can use it. And peace, light, and laughter to you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Bart.